As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, India found itself under the firm grip of British colonial rule. The country was more than just a colony. It was the jewel in the crown of the British Empire, rich in resources and labor that fueled the Industrial Revolution back in Britain. Yet, for the Indian people, this period was marked by economic exploitation, social upheaval, and political subjugation. The British had a stranglehold on the Indian economy, extracting wealth and leaving in its wake a trail of poverty and famine. Agriculture, the backbone of India, was heavily taxed, forcing farmers into a cycle of debt and despair. Industries were stifled, and Indian goods were replaced by British products, leading to deindustrialization and unemployment. In the social sphere, the British policy of divide and rule sowed seeds of communal discord. Yet it was also a time when social reform movements began to take root, challenging age-old customs and practices. Education spread, albeit slowly, and a new middle class, influenced by Western ideas, began to emerge. Politically, Indians were mere subjects of the empire, with no say in governance. However, the turn of the 20th century marked the beginning of a political awakening. The Indian National Congress, formed in the late 19th century, started asserting itself, demanding a greater role for Indians in governance. This era also saw the rise of key figures who would shape India's freedom struggle. Mahatma Gandhi, with his philosophy of non-violence and civil disobedience, and Jawaharlal Nehru, with his vision of a modern secular India, emerged as influential leaders. As the 20th century dawned, the Indian subcontinent, though under the yoke of colonial rule, was not a silent spectator. The rumblings of discontent were growing louder. The seeds of nationalism were sown and the fight for freedom was about to take center stage. The dawn of the 20th century marked the beginning of a long and arduous struggle for independence. As India stood under the shadow of British colonial rule, sparks of rebellion were ignited, fueling a desire for freedom and sovereignty. The non-cooperation movement of the 1920s was a turning point in this struggle. Led by the charismatic Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, this peaceful protest against the British Raj demonstrated the power of passive resistance. Indians across the country boycotted British goods, courts, and schools, paralyzing the machinery of governance. It was a powerful message to the world. India was ready to fight for her independence. The civil disobedience movement that followed in the 30s was another significant milestone. The historic Salt March, where Gandhi and his followers marched over 200 miles to the Arabian Sea to produce their own salt, challenged the British monopoly and further highlighted the unjust nature of colonial rule. Meanwhile, the Indian National Congress, a political force to be reckoned with, was making its presence known. The Congress played a pivotal role in mobilizing the masses and shaping India's fight for independence. Its leaders, including Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhas Chandra Bose, became the torchbearers of the freedom struggle. The onset of World War II in the late 30s brought additional challenges and opportunities. While the war strained Britain's resources, it also amplified India's strategic importance. The Quit India movement, launched in the early 40s, capitalized on this shift, demanding an end to British rule. The relentless efforts of the freedom fighters finally bore fruit when India gained independence on August 15, 1947. With the joy of independence also came the challenges of nation-building. The euphoria of freedom was soon overshadowed by the daunting task of crafting a nation from a land of diverse cultures, languages, and religions. India, a country newly freed from colonial rule, had to grapple with political and economic challenges that were no less than Herculean. The political landscape was rife with the task of unifying a fragmented nation, while the economic terrain was marked by the scars of colonial exploitation. The leaders of the time chose to tread the path of socialism, aiming to build a self-reliant economy that was insulated from the volatility of global markets. State control was deemed necessary to ensure equitable distribution of resources and to spur industrialization. Public sector undertakings were initiated, and the focus was on heavy industries. The intent was noble, but the implementation was fraught with inefficiencies. The economy grew, but at a pace often referred to as the Hindu rate of growth, a term coined to describe the slow and steady economic progression. By the early 90s, India found itself at the brink of a severe economic crisis. The fiscal deficit was high, foreign exchange reserves were precariously low, and inflation was soaring. It was then that the leadership took a bold step, one that would alter the course of India's economic journey. In 1991, the government announced a slew of economic reforms, marking a shift from socialism to economic liberalization. The license Raj, a system that required businesses to obtain multiple licenses to operate, was dismantled. Foreign investment was welcomed and markets were opened up. The impact of these changes was profound. The economy rebounded and growth accelerated. Industries flourished and entrepreneurship thrived. The middle class expanded and millions were lifted out of poverty. The country that was once a fragile economy became one of the fastest-growing economies in the world. India's shift to a more liberal economy marked a turning point in its economic journey, setting the stage for rapid growth in the years to come. This economic transformation, although not without its share of challenges, has shaped the India we know today, a nation that continues to strive for progress and prosperity. As India stepped into the 21st century, it stood as a nation transformed. This was a period of exponential growth, with India emerging as one of the world's fastest-growing economies. Technology became a driving force, catapulting the country into the digital age. The IT sector flourished, paving the way for a new generation of innovators and entrepreneurs. Social changes were equally profound. Education became more accessible, leading to a dramatic increase in literacy rates. Women began to play a more active role in all sectors of society, breaking centuries-old barriers. However, the journey has not been without challenges. India, like the rest of the world, faces the growing threat of climate change, with the impact of rising temperatures and extreme weather events becoming all too apparent. On the global stage, India has asserted itself, playing a key role in international forums and becoming a significant player in global affairs. From a colony to a global player, India's journey since 1900 is testament to its resilience and adaptability. The 20th century was a period of immense change and growth for India. We witnessed a nation under colonial rule bravely fight for its independence, emerging victorious and resilient. Post-independence, India embarked on a journey of economic and social reform, transforming its landscape and setting the stage for a prosperous future. As we ventured into the 21st century, India continued to embrace change, demonstrating an unyielding spirit. As we look back on India's journey since 1900, we are reminded of the countless sacrifices, the relentless pursuit of progress, and the undying spirit of a nation that continues to evolve and thrive.